Thank you for pressing play on this video. I don't want to waste any time. All that I ask is that you please watch this video to the end. If there's any content that I ever put out that you pay attention to, I ask that it be this one. So there's going to be a call to action at the end. This is the final day to be able to do it. It will improve the life of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of animals, and you can actually make a difference. And I'm going to be explaining to you what you can do at the end. And for now, please just let me fill you in on the info and why this is important. Imagine you're a mother cow on a dairy farm. You just gave birth. Birth is hard, and it's very hard, especially when your body has been through this pregnancy and birth cycle repeatedly every year of your life. At around 5 years, that will end when your body can no longer handle that burden. But for now, you are about to relive the worst trauma a female can experience. The maternal instinct pushes you to want to lick your baby clean, to let her nurse or him and feed themselves at your udder. As the baby tries to find his or her legs and approaches you to nestle or nurse, a stranger enters your confined space. Roughly grabbing the fragile calf in their arms, they then throw your baby in a wheelbarrow like a stack of wood, legs flailing over the side. Your udders hurt not being able to fulfill their instinct to feed. You try to save your baby, but the stranger makes a gesture to kick or strike you to keep you away. And the painful process that you went through as a baby or an adult to remove your horns through disbudding or dehorning makes it harder for you to defend yourself or your offspring. When your baby is taken away, you relive the PTSD of the previous times that this has happened, and you cry, wail, and bellow out in agony for hours, days, and maybe even weeks straight. These cries are not normal mooing, as vets have proven. They are particular expressions of intense suffering. What's worse is to know your baby will have one of two fates. If they are male, they are very likely killed on the spot within hours, days, or weeks after birth. Otherwise, they will be picked up by a truck and transported to a veal farm where they are killed as babies after a terrifying journey as an isolated infant with no companionship, herd, or comfort. If your baby is female, it's not much better. Your baby will be tied up in a small cubicle with little room to move and without access to other animals, nature, or grass, living in complete solitary confinement, where the only contact with another living being will be a strange human driving by, dropping a plastic bottle of formula into a hole in your plastic cubicle for you to feed. While your baby is isolated and disoriented, you will be milked by a machine that doesn't verify if you have a painful mastitis infection or if you are undermilked, leaving you with painfully full udders, or overmilked and exhausted without the adequate space to rest afterwards. This is not the stuff of a rare nightmare case of a negligent farm. This is the typical life of a dairy cow in Quebec in Canada. Standard practice. So is tethering this mama cow with a rope so short that she can hardly move or lie down in her tiny stall, let alone feel grass under her feet or have access to fresh air and sunlight in her short life, which, by the way, is an average of 5 years when they're not sick, instead of their natural life expectancy of 20 years. Taking a more caring approach benefits the dairy producers and consumers as well. Allowing cows to stay with their mothers has the heifers produce more milk, and they are less prone to infection and mastitis, which is often inadequately treated without medical attention or painkillers. This also means that when this infection is untreated, pus and blood ends up in consumers' milk, which is not at all uncommon. Calves also have a higher growth rate and lower mortality when they are allowed to stay with their mothers as babies. Makes sense when your first experience after birth isn't deeply traumatic. European countries have begun to improve animal welfare standards with certifications in place, but federal standards here are way behind, prioritizing only profit. They lose money when cows drink some of the milk intended for humans. With growth hormones and breeding, today's dairy cows produce obscene amounts of milk, making it sometimes difficult for the cow to even walk because their udders are so full and huge. So there's enough to go around for calves and humans. What the subsidized dairy industry needs to remember is that their taxpayers who are pumping money into their industry are quickly moving to dairy-free alternatives, vegan diets, and smaller scale, organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised options, because dairy farms, the mainstream ones, have reputations that are becoming synonymous with deception, cruelty, and neglect of dignity for living beings, and also being worse for our health. Read antibiotics, etc. So improving the quality of life for their animals may help save an industry that's in decline and under constant criticism, making them less reliant on government subsidies, which are unfair to those contributing citizens who have a deep moral objection to these practices. The pictures of happy cows in fields associated with dairy marketing are plain propaganda and lies. These bucolic images are based on farms from 100 years ago when calves stayed with their mothers and pasture-raised animals stomped on the grass, fertilizing our soil and hence reducing the need for synthetic cancer-causing pesticides. Germany has found that they have saved both time and money not needing to feed calves separated from their mothers by allowing the families to stay together. What can you do today? Click on the link in the bio if you're on Instagram of the SPCA or SPCA Montreal. There you will find a link to be directed to their website. I will link it below if you're on Facebook or on YouTube. The website will read Dairy Cows Need You, or in French, Les vaches et veaux laitiers ont besoin de vous. The NFACC, National Farm Animal Care Council, are nationally developed guidelines for minimum acceptable standards for how animals should be treated. The NFACC revises its dairy cow code of practice only every decade approximately. The last update dates back to 2009. This is an extremely rare opportunity to make a difference in the lives of countless animals that will either suffer from our neglect or apathy or benefit immeasurably from the time and energy we invest today. Today, January 27th, is the last day you can submit your comments to the council, probably for another decade or so. Go to the website, and I recommend you take a little time and you scan and read the info that they've summarized on the 5 key issues. Then click on Participate in the Comment Period and go through each section of the document. They highlight the key bullet points of each section. Then you can add your comments in your own words about your perspective, why you care, why you think they should care, and then press Submit at the end of the code. Please be polite and respectful, as the council will dismiss insulting rhetoric. Appeal to their interests by reminding them why we are ditching dairy increasingly due to the outdated and profit-driven ways of the mainstream dairy industry. Maybe even declare that you'd be willing to pay more for cruelty-free or cruelty-reduced milk, cheese, yogurt, etc. There are a ton of more articles on the site if you'd like to know more. Do whatever you have time to do. The minimum is better than nothing, but submit some comments today. Then like, share, and comment on this video as much as possible so that more eyes can see it before the end of the day. It may be last minute, but it's not too late. None of us would accept this happening to our dog or our cat, or let alone other human beings. So let's please show the same love and compassion to these creatures. They feel the same way we do, and these actions can actually make a difference, and it's so rare that we can say that. Thank you for listening and taking action.